Hey everyone, welcome back to the Thoughtful Advocate podcast. I'm so glad you're here today because I want to talk about something that completely changed my perspective on parenting, and that is the importance of bringing your children outside. I always knew how important it was because I went to an environmentally conscious school, but this book opened my eyes to the facts of why you need to bring them outside to fight against the strong resistance against going outside in the cold weather in Canada. It's difficult. So this book really helped me. I hope that it can help you too. This book discusses Scandinavian practices and how there's just so much we can learn from other cultures and the way they do things, specifically raising their children. They prioritize outdoor time no matter what the weather is. And that is pretty eye-opening because when it hits like even 15 degrees Celsius here or lower, especially, you don't see anyone in the trucks anymore. And now that it's a lot darker too, it's just like no one's out. This is a great reminder to encourage us to just go outside. I know it's hard and dark and cold, but if we just wear more layers, we can do it. Honestly, I always feel better after a walk. And my son really enjoys going outside and just looking at everything. I think it just brings this sense of wonder, like to him. And also a change of pace because if we're indoors, sometimes we'll be watching TV in the background. So you need something fresh air for him. And I think this helps balance out your schedule with your children. We'll also be talking about some environmental wins that are very exciting. And I'll be sharing some updates for people who are parents or maybe they're thinking about becoming parents. It's 10 months mark for my son, Ace, and he's able to eat real food that we're eating. And I think that's so exciting and honestly so much easier for us. And so I'm going to be sharing baby food weaning and talking about everything from caring for his teeth on his first dentist appointment and amazing milestones. So grab your tea and let's get to it. Okay, so for some good news for the environment, let's start with some ocean love because we all love the ocean, even if some of us can't swim. So Chile actually expanded its marine protection areas to 115,000 square kilometers. And to put that number into perspective, that's like the size of Iceland, which is huge. And this area is designated as safe zone for marine. I think what makes this so meaningful is that these waters are breeding grounds for blue whales, one of the biggest animals on this planet, humpback whales, endangered species, sea turtles, which are also endangered. And by protecting these areas against fishing and mining, Chile is basically giving this entire area filled with marine life a chance to recover from extraction. The country now protects over 40% of its waters, which is I specifically love that we're finally treating oceans as protection areas because they are vital ecosystem, not just bodies of water that you can extract from. We need to protect these resources. We need to protect marine life because in the future, our children rely on them and our children's children. So we need to keep that going as long as possible. And these species also deserve to live and thrive. Which would be very sad if our kids grew up one day and they didn't even know whales existed and they've never seen one. I remember I was going to the Science and Math Institute with my high school in Tacoma, Washington. We were talking about elephants and how they might go extinct. Maybe not in the next 20 years, but in our lifetime, it's very likely because of how much land they need, poaching that's going on, which is very sad. And also, zoos can't keep up with elephants because they need so much room to move and to really thrive. A lot of zoos just don't have enough acreage for that. So to think about whales, like they migrate thousands of miles. So we really need these protection zones to keep them from being hunted, being disturbed really, because when the fishing boats come, a lot of marine life uses sonar to talk to each other and the boats disrupt their communication and can also harm them. In my environmental law class, oil spills are very common when boats take oil rigs and oil barrels across the sea. It's likely that one of them is going to leak. That's going to destroy marine life and make them sick or die. Yeah, we just need more laws in place to protect. The European Union just passed a comprehensive right to repair law that specifically requires manufacturers to make sure that their products last longer and can actually be fixed. There's nothing preventing someone from getting a part. So I remember, especially with Apple products, like a lot of stuff you can't change on your own. You have to take it to a store, but as long as it can be fixed, that's right. Companies have to provide spare parts, repair manuals, and software updates for years with purchase. And I'm glad they're going specifically for technology. So appliances, like tech, smartphones, especially, because a lot of that technology is kept by the companies. And the goal they have in mind is to cut electronic waste by millions of tons annually. And why does this matter? The throwaway culture is literally polluting our planet and poisoning Mother Earth. There's so much heavy metals in a lot of these products, so like lead, cadmium, and it's said that the average person generates about 70 kilograms of electronic waste per year. And that waste ends up in the landfill, leaching into the soil, which means that it comes back to us. If you've ever done testing on waters or soil, you know that stuff accumulates and adds up and will affect our children and our children's children. Remember when things were made to last? Like if you go to your grandma's house, they have washing machines that are still running and they've had it since they were our age. So it just doesn't make sense that appliances nowadays breaking down as soon as you buy it. Like you have to return it. And you see so many returns on Amazon. A lot of the products are made with cheap plastic these days instead of good quality materials. And they just break down much easier. We really need to go back to making things last. And for them to repair, shoemakers, and I think there's a name for them, shoemakers and like shoe repair shops, there's becoming less and less of them. And that is really sad because, like, of course you want to repair your shoes, but I guess at this point, the cost is probably better or the cost to repair might be the same as to buy a new pair of shoes because you can buy it for cheap, but it probably won't last as long. We do need more programs like Patagonia, with their clothing repair. You can take any Patagonia clothing item to their store and they'll repair it for you, which is great because I do not know how to repair a zipper personally. And I think that also goes along with the lost art of repair. It's dwindling, like sewing, like metalworking, woodworking. It's not as popular as before. And so a lot of us just don't know how to repair. But there's also great resources out there that counteract this. So like the Tool Library, there's one in Toronto. There's actually one in quite a few cities. There's even one in mine, and I live in a smaller city. So I was very surprised by that. And you can bring an item. They have the items that are restricted that they can't repair, mostly electronics, which are harder. But if you have a zipper that can fix, you can take it to them. And I think that's really cool, actually, because over time, it does save you money because you're making your items that you already bought last longer. So I think this gives us a chance to see how we use our products and how we elongate their lifeline. There's also been a record-breaking renewable energy investment. There's been a record-breaking renewable energy investment globally in the energy transition, and it just surpassed $2 trillion in 2024, which is a lot of money. This marks the third year in a row that clean energy investments have surpassed fossil fuels. Very exciting and very much needed because fossil fuels are limited. When we dig it all up, it's not just like digging up the fossil fuels, it's also the accumulation effects of the surrounding area and the remediation, the cleanup we need, and just how it affects wildlife as well. So we need it in the ground. Especially when we have energy from the sun, wind, or hydro. Like, why do we need dirty oil? We can just use clean, renewable energy that lasts a long time and is always there. Countries like China, the US, India are actually leading the charge in renewable energy, which is very exciting. The energy transition to renewable energy is happening a lot faster than we anticipated, which is great because the faster it happens, the faster we can just get away from fossil fuels and the better it would be for us in the environment, which we're basically one because we're intertwined. Everything we do affects the environment. Everything the environment does affects us, and anything we do would do it vice versa. So that's it for the good news today. And yeah, it just to show the planet is still worth fighting for because change is happening and you might not hear about it, but you'll hear about it from me. I hope you share this with someone who's in that climate mindset because they need some hope in their life and to be reassured that the change is happening around the world, even if we don't hear about it. Okay, now let's talk about something that directly relates to being environmentally conscious and children. It's all about raising children who love and respect the outdoors and care about the planet they live on, especially with children nowadays. Everyone is very aware of climate change and what it is. When you talk to adults, or got older, like grandparents, they weren't really educated that much about climate change and what was happening and the effects of the things that they were doing. But it doesn't mean that they weren't environmentally conscious. A lot of them did save resources like reusable plastic bags and containers, mostly due to scarcity, but it does make them environmentally conscious. Nowadays, people are very well versed in what is happening to our planet and the warming, developing ice caps. I see a lot more youth involved in climate protests. In fact, I see them as the forefront because a lot of them are very outspoken and knowledgeable, and it's just inspiring to see that. I have no doubt that the future children, the children's children will carry on that like legacy and be even more empowered. Okay, so here's something that blew my mind. I was reading this book when I was pregnant with Ace. I borrowed this from the library, and I'm going to read the title here because I'm going to forget. It's called There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather, Scandinavian Mom's Secret for Raising Healthy, Resilient, and Confident Kids by Linda Åkeson McGurk. I checked this out from the library on my phone. They have ebooks for free on your phone that you can check out from the library, which is great because it means you don't have to go there if you don't live close to one. So yeah, anyways, this is something that blew my mind. So in Nordic countries, it's very common for babies to be put outside and like they're freezing cold. So like in winter, if you just look this up, you'll see videos of strollers outside with the baby sleeping inside with the bunting and all the extra layers and protection for warmth. But yeah, they're just left outside for them to sleep in the cold. Apparently it's good for their bodies. And of course, breathing fresh air is great for their health. But I think that's something that really shocked me because like in North America, that's unheard of. Like when it's cold, when it hits 15 degrees or 10 degrees less Celsius, no one goes outside. It's just wild to me that we think that way, where other cultures are embracing the cold. Being in Canada, I really want to learn how to breathe cold because it's difficult. A lot of people get the winter blues, like seasonal depression from winter. I know I do because I'm not going outside as much and it's just dark and all the leaves are gone and it's depressing. If I can force my way to go outside every day or as much as I can, especially with Ace, he's giving me so much motivation. I used to be outdoors all the time when I went to my outdoor school, the Science and Math Institute. We're hiking all the time, walking outside. But ever since then, like the time I spent outdoors have definitely dwindled, especially like when I'm depressed and in the winter, it's just no motivation. But ever since I had Ace, I've been trying to go out every day. The spark in his eyes when he goes outside and sees the world for the first time renews my sense of hope. I always feel better after a walk. I go out with John and Ace and we just look around the neighborhood and there's Halloween decorations and you see the fall colors and it just you feel renewed after.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of the Scandinavian and more specifically Norwegian word and concept, designating a love for nature, spending time outside and embracing it as a way of life. The word itself loosely translates as open air life. So how do you go about pronouncing this Norwegian word? Friluftsliv. It's how it's pronounced, correct?
Okay, but in the book, it's actually part of the title, there's this whole philosophy called free, loose, live. And I might have butchered that, but I'll put the word up here, Scandinavian word, specifically Norwegian origin. Apparently the direct translation is open air living. And this is the deep Scandinavian belief that the outdoors is not just nice to have, it's essential for life. And that right there is a philosophy we all need to adopt. And basically the book, There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather by Linda McGurk. So she's a Swedish mom living in the US, and she wrote this book because of the huge culture shock of how outdoor time is spent, or maybe the lack thereof in the US versus in Sweden where she's from. Break it down and start with the science of outdoor time for development. So the American Academy of Pediatrics actually recommends children to go out daily because it's shown that they are physically more healthy, lower rates of obesity, improved motor coordination, and increased outdoor time also reduces the risk of myopia. And studies show that increase of outdoor time actually reduces the risk of children developing myopia, which is actually very common now, which is nearsightedness. I definitely spent a lot of time indoors. I might have spent more time outdoors than the average person, but I think I could have done better, especially as an adult. It's common knowledge that when babies are outside, they're more motivated to move and explore. There's more open space for them to explore, which is so important for children because that's how they learn, by being curious, exploring, and really doing things. There's also evidence of stronger mental health, reduce anxiety and depression, better focus and attention spans, and improve emotional regulation. And if you ever go outside in the forest, you just feel this serenity. Like it really calms you naturally. Having those green spaces is just so important. Research from the University of Illinois shows that even just 20 minutes of outdoor time a day can significantly reduce cortisol levels in children. And that's the stress hormone. It also enhances creativity and problem solving. Unstructured outdoor time allows children to imagine a world of possibilities, create new games, and navigate challenges. Exposure to a natural sunlight actually helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Therefore, you sleep a lot better. And Scandinavian parents specifically, that outdoor naps are longer, better, and deeper. There's a Scandinavian saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. This means that children go outside every day, regardless of the weather conditions. It really does have to do with layering and gear. We'll notice this, especially if you go camping, you need the right gear for the right temperatures. If you prepare ahead of time, you will be more prepared for cold. I think the only time you shouldn't be going is extreme weather, thunderstorms or blizzards, anything that could really harm to anyone. So it's just common sense. Swedish preschools actually have their children spend several hours outdoor, rain or shine, which is a great tool in North America. I've been looking at daycares and like schools. A lot of them provide 2 hours of recess time, which is a great start. And I think that's the minimum. But as you get older, it's like an hour sometimes outdoors. If it's raining, they have indoor recess, which I get it, but it takes away from the fresh air that is just so much more beneficial. And if you live in rainy areas like Seattle or Vancouver, you just need a rain jacket and you're going to be fine. So I don't think the rain should be an excuse to not go outside. Children definitely need the right rain gear, raincoats, rain jackets, and hopefully schools have extras. Children don't have them. But yeah, they need to be prepared for the outdoors because they should go outside, especially at that age. They need time to run around and use their energy and explore. Parents in Sweden and a lot of Nordic countries have their babies sleep outside, even when it's snowy. They have extra layers, protection, and monitors. The University of Oulu in Finland found that sleeping outdoors increases how much longer they sleep and shows fewer respiratory infections. So for children, babies specifically 0 to 12 months, think of outdoor time as more of a sensory play, now breathing in fresh air. I remember when my son was really small, I would take him to the backyard or something, and when the wind would come in, he would open his mouth to almost taste the air. I always thought that was so interesting because as adults, we don't do that. But they can feel different textures like grass, touching leaves, sand, water, hearing the birds, and just like different critters, seeing them, seeing colors, the leaves. Some lives looking up and seeing all the beautiful yellow golden leaves from the fall vibes, seeing clouds move, trees sway like flowers. Even other people, it's just, yeah, it piques their sense of curiosity. And it's just natural. Seeing natural light change is also really important because it helps your circadian rhythm, so you know what time of day it is, and it's just better than artificial light, of course. And of course, increasing like vitamin D levels, which are so important for babies because they need it, and we do too. I remember when I was really depressed and not going outside, my vitamin D levels were horrid. I had to take multivitamins, but I should have just went outside more. Of course, if you live in areas or countries with real winters, you still need to take multivitamins. It's good to try to incorporate some way of bringing your children outdoors. It can be a breakfast thing. Maybe in the morning, you go outside, have breakfast with your kids, or for work, you go for a quick walk. I usually feed them just bottle outside, and it's just nice to see other people outside and breathe in the fresh air. It's just so nice. And yeah, I think I would like to bring him out more to the porch, especially because usually I carry him and then I sit on the bed. We have blankets and more covers, so yeah, I can just lay on there and he can now crawl and almost walk because he's practicing. So yeah, just let him explore a bit. Yeah. And for toddlers and young children, the book also recommends just making outdoor time non-negotiable. It's like part of their routine. Let them get wet. It comes off eventually. And provide these parts to play with. And this doesn't have to be anything expensive. It would literally be sticks, rocks, pine cones, water. If you ever see those videos of the mud kitchens, like children making mud cakes, I think that's really cute. I am growing up in a household that's literally had people with OCD. It does make you a little wary the mud because we're never allowed to be dirty, go outside and play in mud. But thinking as long as he has like prep gear, like rain jacket and or covers, like at least those will come off, and rain boots. And yeah, whenever we're allowed to splash in puddles. So it's not mud, at least splashing in puddles. At this age, you can just follow their lead. They don't really need much structure yet. They're just out there to explore. It's not anything extra that you really need to do. Overcoming common barriers. So, of course, anyone who doesn't want to go outside will say it's too hot, too cold, too wet. And this is where clothing matters. Get layers, get a rain jacket, wear your winter jacket, and the weather will basically be less overburdened. For some colder climates, like in Canada, when I first came here, my face was frozen and it hurt. The first time I got off the plane, that was a deterrent from going outside, but eventually I got used to it. And you can also wear scarves around your face, and they also have ski masks, but that's a bit extreme for me. So scarves, mittens, hats. A lot of people don't have yards, which also was a deterrent for me because I was living in a condo for the first time, and we didn't have a balcony either, and there was no parks. So they recently made a park, of course, when I left. But even just going outside for a bit, walking around is full. And I did that pop with my brother when we were not mentally so well, and it really helped. It was fun to explore the area and see what's there. That was our first time living in a non-suburb area, basically downtown. So it was nice. In the book, it talks about how families living in apartments still go to parks and make time to get out there. There's no excuse. It's not safe. It's a big concern for not going outside. Of course, if you're watching news constantly, you don't whatever go out or anywhere. That according to studies, the benefits of outdoor time is it outweighs the risks. Another barrier or mindset is I don't have time, and that is valid. And if you can do it after work, I think that will bring a lot of joy for you and your children, and also give you some ease during bedtime because they're tired out. So I think that's why so many parents bring their children to parks, because it really does help. And going outdoors can replace screen time, indoor play, or even mealtime. It's just changing your mindset and your way of thinking a bit. To get used to it, it's part of your routine. Building environmental stewardship, especially in the early area of your child's life. There are some studies out there saying that children who spend more time outdoors are more environmentally conscious as adults. And I can definitely attest to that. My grandma would take us on a lot of walks outside. We'd ride our bikes and scooters and go to the playground. We lived near a beach, and there was a nice park there. And even going to the environmentally conscious school where we would hike all the time, that was literally our physical education. I think it definitely made me more environmentally conscious and made me feel more protective of my natural surroundings because I use them. I see them and I feel them. I see how beautiful they are. Growing with them, I can't imagine a world without the natural beauty around us. When we're taking our children outdoors, we're not just supporting their health, but also rooting the next generation of environmental advocates. They can't love and protect what they don't know. People are fearful of the unknown. So make it known to them that nature is something well worth to be protected. So here are the key takeaways. One, the nutrition is not optional. It's optimal for children's development. It's just as important as sleep and nutrition. And we need to start prioritizing it here in North America because it's just important. There's no bad weather. The proper clothing, kids can basically go outside anytime. You'll see kids in the winter here go tobogging with their parents, and it's -10. So there's no excuse. Even just 20 to 30 minutes a day, however much time you have, just get out there. It really does count. Let go of those dangerous activities. You don't need to do those if you're going to be overwhelmed by them. Just let the kids explore, and they'll find their own games out there to play. They play hopscotch, lipsticks, Mr. Fox, what time is it? There's so many games out there that they can come up with. You'll be surprised by what kind of games they play. And if you want to know more, you should read There's No Such Bad Weather by Linda McGurk. It was really an eye-opening book and very interesting because it explores how she has two children. The first one was raised in the US, and then she has two kids. They're pretty close in age, I think 2 years apart or something. And basically her time in the US opened her eyes to how little people spend time outdoors in the US. And when she went back to Sweden, she just saw how much outdoor time was integrated into their everyday lives, especially in schools. The way she tells her stories, personal stories, and research it was just a really easy read and very interesting too. Okay, so today's sponsor is Kind Laundry. Just kidding, they're not really a sponsor, but I do have an affiliate code. Kind Laundry use natural ingredients and it actually comes in these sheets. So much more useful than liquid laundry detergent because that stuff gets messy. With Kind Laundry, you can bring this anywhere. It's literally in a box, pack in your suitcase, and it's that easy. You can get 10% off by using code ZeroWasteCute.